started. So, good evening, colleagues. It's really nice to see you here today. I know it's a bit of a challenge to find the place for myself. It took me quite a long time to find the exact meeting room. So congratulations that you find your way, you made it. And I'm thinking perhaps many colleagues are, on their way to locate this place. So let's look forward to more people joining us soon. So first of all, quickly introduce myself. My name's Xuehong Wang. I'm a manager in the Transparency Division at the UNFCCC Secretariat. The director, he was supposed to be here to welcome you all, but unfortunately, he has a clash tonight, so he cannot come. So he asked me to deliver his opening remarks. So I'm delivering this opening remarks on behalf of Mr. Donald Cooper, who is the Director of Transparency Division in the UNFCCC Secretariat. So first again, a big welcome to everyone. So as you all know, the Paris Agreement introduced a universal system of enhanced transparency framework. The objective of the transparency framework under the Paris Agreement is to demonstrate the commitment of all parties in contributing to climate action. These obligations play a pivotal role in fostering global accountability and building trust. The first global stocktake is the critical milestone at COP28, as you know. Then the enhanced transparency framework informs the global stocktake process and fosters more ambitious NDCs over time. Ensuring transparency in climate action and support is vital for cultivating trust among parties, facilitating effective implementation, and encouraging the continued raising of ambitions. It is encouraging to witness that parties are actively working to bolster their institutional arrangements and technical capacities to submit timely their first reports under the Enhanced Transparency Framework by the end of 2024. We thank Australia for submitting its 2023 National GHG Inventory Report, the first prepared in accordance with the Enhanced Transparency Framework. We also thank Andorra for submitting the first biannual transparency report, making a significant milestone in the implementation of the Enhanced Transparency Framework. Together, these reports show that parties are committed to walking the talk on transparency. The UNFCCC Secretariat has been diligently working to ensure broad participation in the Enhanced Transparency Framework through the development of systems, process, tools, and training programs. We would like to share with you the following. First, the training program for the biannual transparency report reviewers has been launched and is being implemented already in 2023. If you haven't taken the exam yet, I strongly recommend you to do so and become part of the process, become our review experts. Secondly, in November 2023, the second test version of reporting tools under the Enhanced Transparency Framework was provided to parties, accompanied by necessary training activities. If you are a party representative responsible for reporting, please sign up for one of the many training sessions being offered over the next 2 weeks, if you haven't done so already. Thirdly, the review procedures under the Enhanced Transparency Framework and review tools are being designed and will be applied in the first reviews in 2024, which is next year. The ongoing challenge we encounter is the scarcity of resources to support the reporting tools and review activities. Therefore, support by parties and non-party stakeholders on enhanced transparency framework are welcome to the supplementary funding of the UNFCCC. I would like to take this opportunity to share with you our initiative of Together for Transparency. This is a series of events under the banner Together for Transparency. This is an initiative coordinated by the UNFCCC secretariat, which covers a wide range of climate transparency-related issues in preparation for the ETF and supporting the full implementation of the Paris Agreement. At COP28, UNFCCC, together with our collaborating partners, will cover more than 50 different events on transparency, from high-level events to roundtables and hands-on training sessions. So finally, we welcome all stakeholders to join us here in Dubai. Our full calendar of COP28 events can be accessed on the website Together for Transparency. So that's the welcoming remarks that I'm delivering on behalf of the director. So with that, let's move to our program for this evening. Today, this event actually aims to provide an update on where we are in preparation for the review system under the Paris Agreement. Today, you will hear a presentation from the Secretariat informing you of the ongoing preparations, what's new compared to the old system of transparency under the convention, under the KP. So we will have a flavor of what are the differences, and then what are the ongoing preparations. You will also hear some insights from our excellent panel. I'll introduce them a little bit later, and our distinguished panelists will also share with you their experience and their feedback on the enhanced transparency framework. Also including their experience with the existing transparency system under the Convention and Kyoto Protocol. So with that, I would like to first introduce Ms. Ruta Bibnini. She is a team lead in the Transparency Division at the UNFCCC Secretariat. So over to you, Ruta.
Thank you very much, Xu Hong, and thank you for the introduction. And as Xu Hong mentioned, I will present you the update on where we are and where we go and what challenges we do have and what we encourage you all to do in terms of supporting and preparing further for the enhanced transparency framework. As Xu Hong mentioned, I'm working in the Transparency Division, leading the team for BR-NNC for developed country parties, and we are working on the transparency for quite a long time. So ETF is building on existing MRV for over 30 and 20 years, and I will present you with some lessons that we have learned throughout those review cycles throughout those 30 years, and more specifically throughout 10 years of existing MRV system. To remind you what ETF consists on, you might want to note that we're talking about 4 elements when we do the reviews under the ETF, which is about checking the consistency with the guidelines and identifying capacity building needs, as well as identifying the improvements. But most importantly, what I would like to stress is that we are also looking at the consideration of progress in achieving NDCs. And in the end, that consideration of progress means that through the ETF system, we will have information to feed in global stocktake on where parties are at that particular moment, so that we can every 2 years track the progress by all parties individually and by all parties collectively on how far we are to reach the target and how much we have already reached. So in the end, ETF is the only mandated system that would track progress on a regular basis. Going more into details and flagging a few features and elements of the systems. First, about the type of reviews. You might recall there are 4 types of reviews, but here today I would like to stress the benefits and importance of the in-country reviews, which is then the expert review teams come to your country and meet your national experts, and together with your national experts they go through the guidelines, requirements, and consult and suggest how the data can be collected, the information could be gathered and presented, and in the end that provides you with opportunity to learn and to improve over time. So encouragement from our side would be to opt to the in-country reviews and use this opportunity of learning and exchange. Looking into the timeline of the ETF review, it's largely the same as we do have now for developed country parties and includes largely the same steps with flexibilities for developing countries, yet it is quite challenging and requires a lot of tedious work both by parties, secretariat and the expert reviewers. In total, the review will take around 9 months with 4 months preparation of the review findings. All in all, the mandate requires the teams to complete the review in 12 months, in 1 year, so that we can have the consolidated compilation and synthesis of the findings. Having said that, it is critical that parties already now start preparing their first submissions of climate reports under the Paris Agreement, so that we do have compilation and synthesis with significant number of parties that we can prepare next year or in 2025 and present that for the COP that would in the end feed into the global stocktake. So the invitation here would be to prepare your reports as soon as you can and meet the timelines of end of 2024, so which means in 12 months the Secretariat would expect all parties to submit their reports. The next steps after the submission and review is the facilitative multilateral consideration of progress, which is the other version of multilateral assessment and FSV, which we have now under current MRV arrangements, and you are kindly invited to participate in this forum of sharing and consultations on 3rd, 4th, 5th and 6th December at this COP. The steps and process of FMCP under the Paris Agreement are largely the same as we do have now under current arrangements, and importantly, what this process allows parties to do, it allows to present their success, to share their lessons and to share their needs and challenges. So in the end, it is a forum on accountability where parties present their actions and how they are reaching their Paris Agreement goals and NDC targets. We do already have some champions. So some parties already took a step forward and prepared their climate reports. Australia have submitted their inventory report for 2021 using the guidelines under the ETF of Paris Agreement. As well as Andorra has prepared their first biannual report and submitted in October this year. Having said that, it's important to stress that early submission of reports is very welcome, yet invitation would be to use the agreed formats that are in the MPG's modalities and procedures of the ETF, so that comparability of the data would be at ease. And then that would lead to the robust and comprehensive compilation and synthesis and data into global stocktake. Having said that, the reviews of Andorra's BTRs and all the other reports that we expect to receive early next year and throughout next year will be scheduled for the second half for 2024, and then the bulk of reports that we expect to receive by the end of 2024 would be launched. The reviews will be launched in the first quarter of 2025. And now a few words about our lessons, what we as a secretariat take from the current MRV, the following, that the process is about continuous improvement. And we see that improvement in both sides. We see those improvements in BUR submissions by developing countries. We also see those improvements in BRs and national communications of developed country parties. And here we have tried to quantify some of those improvements throughout the years, and we, on the graph here below, we see the trends in per chapter in recommendations in the reports, and you see largely that in 8 years in 4 cycles of reports, the number of recommendations almost dropped twice. So the quality of reports has been improved, and we believe that reviews have really helped to improve the quality, as we also see that quite a number of parties chosen to resubmit their reports with improved quality after the review week by the experts. Another insight from our experience of 10 years in MRVs are that through the composition of teams and balanced representation of the regions in those review teams, there are possibilities provided for all, from experts from all regions to participate in the process and to gather the experience, not only in the process itself, but also from the climate policies that are implemented in the country under review, but also on the climate policies at the countries where the other review officers come in. So in the end, throughout those 10 years and 30 years of reporting and review, we have gathered quite a number community of experts. And you might know that we will have another event shortly this week on celebration of expert reviewers, where we would acknowledge their work and we'll have an opportunity to talk more about the expertise and the experience of the experts. The other point what I would like to mention as a success story for us, as I see, is that continuously not only parties improved the reporting, but also we as a secretariat, together with lead reviewers, we worked tirelessly on streamlining the process as well as enhancing the review tools that the reviewers are using for their reviews. And as a result, we see that the timeliness of the process of the review process has improved, and we are almost on time in delivering the reports in 4 months after review week, which is exactly the timelines for the ETF, which gives us a good basis to believe that the process, the system is ready to deliver for the ETF on time. And lastly, on the lessons from MA and FSV, which is again accountability forum for all parties. The slide here presents the number of questions that was asked by developed country parties to the parties under MA throughout 4 cycles of MA and 4 cycles of submission of BRs. You see some nice wave here, and you see over 600 questions in the beginning, and then around the same number of questions in the end of the 8 years period, which shows that parties tend to engage and participate quite actively in the beginning, because maybe the process was new, and then now we also see quite a number of parties coming in and raising the questions on many parties, on different areas, on all areas and to all parties. And it is encouraging to see the engagement and contributions to all parties. Invitation here would be to use the opportunity again in FMCP. That first round most likely would be in 2025, to use the opportunity to showcase parties' achievements and to learn from each other and to exchange the lessons here on how to implement climate policies. A few notes on the readiness and the efforts that the Secretariat is delivering in preparing for ETF. First component, and probably one of the most important components, is expert reviewers. For that, as Shihong already noted, we do have a training program of 4 modules which are already launched, and 1 module on adaptation is under preparation. An invitation would be to join the community of reviewers, participate in training, pass exams, and then gather the experience in the reviews in 2024. Also, in addition to that, the Secretariat is conceptualized and is designing processes and tools for review, as well as is delivering on reporting tools for submissions of reports. And you may have opportunity to participate in trainings on how to use those reporting tools, those trainings are scheduled throughout those 2 weeks here. So if you are the compiler of reports, encouragement would be to reach out and participate in those face-to-face in-person trainings, so that you can really see how the tool works and that you would feel more comfortable when you will be compiling your reports. The challenge that we see here, despite all our efforts, we still see that there is some need for additional support to the Secretariat in order to complete the work, both on reporting tools and also in order to deliver the reviews for all parties that will submit. Having said that, we see no other way as to apply the principle first come, first serve. And as we look now into the budgetary situation and into the budget proposal, which was proposed in June 2023, 30% of resources are secured in the core budget. That would mean that 35 BTRs could be reviewed from that secured core budget, and additional resources in the supplementary funding that would allow Secretariat to deliver remaining reviews on BTR is around 21 million euros. Having said that, I would like to thank you for your attention and then to reiterate that invitation to prepare and submit your BTR by end of next year using the agreed formats and looking into is using the principle you are welcome as you are. You don't need to be perfect to submit your first BTR. In 30 years of reporting and review and in 10 years of current MRV, we see the large difference between the first reports presented by parties and the reports that are presented here. We do have evidence of continuous improvement, and that principle of continuous improvement is embedded also in the ETF. So invitation would be to provide the information as you have without waiting too long to make that information perfect. Second invitation would be to become a reviewer and experience that reviews and join the reviewers community. And the third invitation would be to use opportunities here to learn more about the tools, about the experts, and also about the Together for Transparency. So invitation is to join the transparency group and become the part of this community. Thank you very much. Shuhong, back to you.
Thank you very much, Ruta, for this very, very clear and comprehensive presentation. Before we move to our panel, if there are any burning questions, so you have a chance, we can take one or two clarification questions. And then after the panel discussion, we will have some time for a more interaction with the audience. So, floor is open. Any quick clarification questions? If not at this, oh, okay, I see at the back. So, perhaps you can speak to the mic so that everyone can hear. Maybe also introduce yourself. Thank you. Ruta, would you like to take this question?
I may try to respond to you. That 2nd of December, what we have here are either trainings on the use of reporting tool, or there is information events about the experts. So in any case, in order to become a certified expert reviewer for BTR reviews, you would need to take online training and pass the exams. That is my understanding, but I may come back to you if you leave your contact details. We can confirm with our training colleagues that this information is correct. Maybe there is something that we are not aware. Thank you.
Thank you. And actually, as mentioned earlier, we have more than 50 events under the banner Together for Transparency. So you can find a list of all the training events and various type of events in that link. But thank you for asking. Any other quick questions? If not, perhaps you still have a chance to raise questions after our panel discussion. So with that, I would like now to move to our distinguished panel. I will first of all introduce them. We actually have 4 panel members joining us today. Sitting next to me is Jenny Maker Santos. Jenny is the director of Climate Change Division of the Ministry of Environment of Chile. She holds an MPA in Public Policy in Environmental Sciences from Columbia University in New York. Her experience covers the participation and coordination of Chile's environmental commitments in climate change, such as carbon neutrality goal, NDC, and the long-term climate strategy. She is a member of the CGE of the UNFCCC and is a certified reviewer of national communications, biannual update reports, and GHG inventories. So welcome, Jenny. And sitting next to Jenny is Ms. Iveta Patterson. I hope I pronounced correctly. And Iveta is currently the Deputy Permanent Secretary for Climate Change in Suriname, and she's responsible for the process for the development of Suriname's reports to UNFCCC. She holds a master's degree in law. She has contributed to the preparation of NAMA for Suriname, the National Adaptation Plan, and the second NDC of Suriname, including the 2020 promulgated Environment Framework Law. She has represented Suriname at various national and international forums and currently serves on the board of governors of the Caribbean Community Climate Change Center. So welcome. And then sitting at the far end of the podium is Dr. Janka Zamisova. Dr. Zamisova works for the Slovakia government. She holds a PhD degree in organic chemistry. She developed the national system for reporting of environmental requirements in air pollution and climate change in Slovakia in 2007, and since then has managed the reporting of national greenhouse gas emissions at the both national and international levels. She's also the chair of the Scientific Advisor Board of the Slovak Hydrometeorological Institute and has been a member of the UNFCCC CGE since 2020. Welcome, Janka. And then last but not least, we have another panel member connected online. Actually, he's coming from the champion country under the Enhanced Transparency Framework. From Andorra, Carlos Miquel from Andorra. I hope he's with us online. Oh, now I can see you. I can now see you. We can all see you. Welcome, Carlos. I'm just going to introduce you. Carlos is the director of the Energy and Climate Change Agency of Andorra. Carlos has a civil engineering background. He is now pursuing his PhD degree on climate change. In 2015, he was appointed by the government to head the Agency of Energy and Climate Change in Andorra, where he works to promote the energy transition, climate action, and increase resilience with instruments such as the National Weather Service. Internationally, he is responsible for national communication to the international community. He is the focal point of Andorra to the UNFCCC and the IPCC, as well as the permanent representative to WMO. So welcome, Carlos. So now this is our panel. So I'm going to raise a number of questions for our panelists to share with us their feedback and their experience. I will be asking 3 rounds of questions so that we can go through these one by one. So after each question, I would invite our panel members to share their views, and then we move to the next round of questions. So my first question to all our panel members, could you let us know where you are with regards to the preparation of the first biannual transparency report under the Paris Agreement? For Carlos, I have a different question. So this question is, is for the other 3 panel members. So first, where you are with regard to BTR preparation, and in that process, what are the challenges you encountered? So I would like to perhaps start with Jenny.
Thank you. Thank you for the question. And yes, after the submission of our 5th BUR last year, we started to prepare our country to the submission of the first BTR. We had the idea of that in our 5th BUR, we intended to implement or to show some of the requirement for the BTR. So the idea was to have an idea how challenging that requirement are, and they are very challenging. But in that sense, now we are working very hard in completing the national inventory report, and also to work together with the ministers, different ministries in Chile, because in parallel we are trying to implement our climate change law. So we are in a process to design new policies, and also we had to report and quantify the impact of the last policies. So now we are working very hard with the sectors. We have tables, working tables, in order to gather all the information, and we hope to have the BTR for next year. Yeah, we will have it.
Thank you. Jenny, and I actually forgot to congratulate you for what you have done using your last biannual update reports to test the new report under the Paris Agreement. And actually, you are really following the MPGs on GHG inventory. So thank you for that effort. It's really nice to hear that. And now we move to Yvette. So if you can share with us.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Good evening, everybody. For Suriname, we are in the initial stage of preparation for the BTR, our first BTR. But what we have done over the last couple of months is that after we submitted our third national communication, that was in April this year, and in November 2022, we submitted our first BUR. We also completed the review process for our first BUR, let's say a couple of months ago. And we have used that opportunity to have like a more needs assessment workshop with all the stakeholders. In that workshop, we were able to share information about the new process, what is needed from them, from each stakeholder, because some of them are data provider, and some of them are also making use of data that the Ministry of Environment is, collecting and storing in our database. So we had that workshop with them to make them aware of what is coming, of course. Because we have just finalized the third national communication, and what it is that we had to produce data from a long period, from 2000 until 2017, which means that stakeholders were asking us if we still needed to provide data, since we have already provided data over a period of 70 years. So we told them that yes, that is the process, because the Suriname is a party to the UNFCCC as well as the Paris Agreement. So we will have to continue with the process, but we also ask each one of these organizations what is needed to build capacity, but also to streamline the process to collect data from them. So it was more like a needs assessment, but also to look where the areas are to build capacities for those organizations.
Thank you very much for sharing this your experience, and it's encouraging to see, how you use this current process to prepare stakeholders for the new submissions under the Paris Agreement. So Jenka, now over to you to share experience with Slovakia.
Thank you for the floor and good evening, everyone. Yes, in fact, we started already last year, and we started not only with the preparation of BTR, but we are starting with the implementation of all ETF process in Slovakia, because we need to modify our current MRV, and as we don't have a core budget for such implementation, so we started to implement a project. So now we are on the final stage with the project. We are finishing by the end of this year, and the project delivered to our experts implementation of the new 2019 IPCC refinements, changes, remapping the changes in all sectors, in all categories, emissions, and modifying structure of our data, because there are many changes in categories and subcategories and sources, particularly in fugitive emissions or in agriculture or waste sector. So we are preparing a completely new database of our emissions data. And then now we are also changing database software for our data, and we are implementing also reporting guidelines, MPGs, to be prepared for a new reporting completely. So from January we are planning to start a preparation of our report. But this is very challenging because there are many chapters or many parts of the reports which are not under the responsibility of my agency. So we need to get together our team also from other ministries and other stakeholders, other agencies or scientific universities and so on, and to coordinate and to prepare the report by the end of the next year.
Thank you, Jenka. It's very, very nice to hear that you keep improving the accuracy of data and all the efforts that Slovakia has taken place now. So that's really quite impressive. So now let's move to Carlos, who joins us online. And Carlos, recently Andorra submitted the very first biannual transparency report under the Paris Agreement. So a huge congratulations to you and colleagues in Andorra. It's a huge achievement. So the question for you then would be, what advice do you have for other parties that are preparing to submit their first BTR? Because you already took that first step. So perhaps you can share with everyone your experience, challenges you encountered when putting together this report, and what advice you have for your peers in the other parts of the world. Over to you, Carlos.
Thank you, Chair. Hello, colleagues, panelists. Hola, Jenny. First of all, I would like to thank you for the invitation to speak about our experience as the very first country that has submitted the first BTR. In this context, Andorra has a considerable experience in review processes, as we have already undergone 4 complete international consultation and analysis cycles since 2014. These processes have detected very useful strengths and weaknesses for the continuous improvement of the inventory and the derived reports. Andorra has worked to take into consideration and include all improvement aspects detected during the ICA processes to improve the transparency. This effort was recognized by the last TTA, who mentioned it in its final report. Overall, there has been an evolution and continuous improvement of the review processes since 2014, when we presented our first BUR. We can all remember that the first review cycle was a novel experience for everyone, and it was accompanied by a significant degree of uncertainty. However, through subsequent cycles, lessons were learned and collaborative effort emerged to refine and enhance the review procedures. So I think this journey has been a learning process for both parties involved, and I believe there are many similarities with the current situation of implementation of a new review process. Andorra anticipates that the upcoming review process will serve as a valuable catalyst in prioritizing and streamlining our efforts to enhance report transparency. We recognize the significance of this evaluation in pinpointing areas for improvement, and we are committed to integrate these insights gained to refine our reporting practices. So we expect that throughout the review process, tools and resources will be provided for all of us to fostering an open exchanges of tools and best practices. And we think this proactive approach underscores our dedication to transparency and the collaborative spirit that underpins the collective pursuit of effective reporting practices.
Thank you, Carlos, for sharing with everyone your experience, especially how your reporting improves over time through participating in cycles of reporting and review process. So thank you for sharing that. My second round of questions now for the panelists, because the first question really is about report preparation. So now I'm going to move to your expectations for the upcoming reviews under the enhanced transparency framework, because as everyone knows, once a party submits a report, then the next step will be technical review, which are conducted by independent group of experts. So all of you actually have experience in the review process, and actually Carlos just now already elaborated to some extent the benefits of reviews. But now I would like to hear from the other three panel members to tell us about your expectation of the upcoming enhanced transparency framework review. Do you see any differences between the future and now, or what's your expectation? What do you want to get out of it? So I will start again with Jenny. You're sitting next to me, so you have this.
Okay, thank you. Yes, after going through 5 times for an ICA process, is easily to have a new expectation related with the review processes. For us, going through the ICA was very useful to understand how to identify the capacity building that we need in the country. However, maybe, and what we expect is in the new review process, we can have more like in-depth details, how to overcome the gaps or the difficulties that we have in the report process, elaboration process. Since in the ICA was more an analysis on capacity building, and we expect that the new process is going to be more focused on difficulties and in the technical part of the report. So for us, we lost at least we lost the fear of having this kind of reviews, and now we are prepared to have more like in details and hard questions and stuff.
Thank you, Jenny, for sharing with us your expectations of the new process. Now let's hear from Yvette.
So, for Suriname and for me as the coordinator when it comes to reporting, it was a new process. As you know, it was Suriname's first BUR. So like Jenny, I cannot make the place similarities or differences between the reviews, because I only experienced one. So it will be difficult for me. The only thing that I'm a little bit concerned for is that the ETF is a new process. So we're still wondering if it will differ a lot. It will be more difficult for us to follow, or can we expect the same? So for Suriname, we are still looking how it will work out for us. But we are motivated, and we have experienced the first review as pretty good, not too stressed. We thought that we would receive more questions, but it was manageable. So I hope that the ETF process will also be that way.
Thank you for sharing with us your concern. I can assure you that the nature of review under the ETF is facilitative, aiming to help parties improve over time. So you can have confidence in the process there. Yanka.
Yes, thank you. The same from my side. Don't be scared, but I know that it is difficult because at the beginning I also was scared before the review week, or how the questions and answers will be and so on. But now I have a lot of experiences from both sides, from the reviewer side and also from the party, which were reviewed several times, and also I'm a reviewer of the Annex and non-Annex 1 parties. And for me personally, the challenges with the process to facilitative BURs is more interesting, and I think it's more useful, or not useful, it's more challenging for both sides, and I'm really enjoy this process, and I like to come back after 2 years or 4 years and see how the party make a progress, make improvements, and this is very satisfaction for the reviewer if the reviewer see after several years that the party has improve reporting and enjoy the process, because it is not nothing to be scared. So,
Thank you, Yanka, sharing from the perspective of the reviewer. And then, Carlos, anything in addition to what you mentioned earlier? Just now, you talk a little bit about how the technical analysis, which is similar to review, how that process helped Andorra over time. You have any additional points to say here with regards to the upcoming review for Andorra? Because now Andorra submitted the first BTR. Secretariat will soon follow up with Andorra to arrange for the upcoming reviews. Anything in particular you wanted to share from your side, your expectations?
No, I have said all that I think I wanted to say. So the evolution and continuous improvement of these review processes are not only for us, for the parties, but also for the team who will work on the facilitative multilateral consideration of the progress. So I think it's a work that will be better and better in each cycle. And for all the parties, I think it is very important to maintain a permanent work team to ensure the continuity in these communication commitments on the UNFCCC. So no, I think that's all in this sense. Thank you.
Thank you, Carlos. That's a very useful, helpful advice from you, from Andorra, on every one of us to have a permanent team. so that, over time you can build the capacity, and then there's this continuity in the reporting and review process at the national level. My last question for the panelists before we move to the audience for any questions or reflections to share with us. My last question, actually, I know that you all just now talk about how the existing MRV system helps build the enhanced transparency framework. But if you can highlight just one key aspect, just one point that you think the existing transparency system shed light on the development and implementation of the new system, what is that one key aspect? It might take a little bit of time, so take 20 seconds to think. I know that you have a lot to share, but then if there is something that struck you, this one keyword or that you would like to share with everyone, what would that be? This time we start from Yanka.
Okay.
Yanka.
For me personally, I think it's lessons learned from the reviewer side and also from the side of reviewing party. So working in multicultural environment, because expert review teams or technical expert teams are from the several different parts of the world, and this is very enriching both sides, I think.
Thank you. That's very, very nice to hear. Iveta.
So for me, is more on the side of data, that we want to have a good functioning MRV system, because what we have back home is that not for all sector there is a good MRV system in place. Some of the sectors you could go and you could subtract the information, but for some of the sector we still need to work on that. So I see that as an important, how do you call it, an important issue that comes to mind when we're talking about MRV, but also reporting.
Thank you, Iveta. Jenny?
Well, I think that the objective of the ICA process was to identify the capacity building needs, right? So I say that for the ETF, we have already identified the aspect that we need to improve, and in that sense, we have to use the resources that are limited, put it just in the aspect that we are not so good. So we have to learn about the capacity building needs assessment, take it, and implement the improvement in the next report.
Excellent. And Carlos, one word.
Yes, thank you, Chair. It's a difficult question, but I think being transparent allows us to be exigent. So it is important to understand that, especially for vulnerable territories, being transparent in the communications and meet the communication obligations under UNFCCC is essential for then being demanding with the rest of the parties that have big mitigation potentials. These regions are often disproportionately affected by the adverse impacts of climate change, rely on the clear and open communication to effectively address their unique vulnerabilities. So by adhering to transparency standards, they establish a basis for holding other parties accountable. Armed with this transparent data and insights, these territories are better positioned to advocate for equitable support and resources. So furthermore, this transparent communication set a precedent compelling other parties, especially those with sustainable mitigation potentials to recognize and respond to these urgent climate challenges faced by the most vulnerable. So in a sense, transparency becomes a catalyst for fostering global collaboration and ensuring that climate action are impactful. So together for transparency.
Oh, thank you very much. That's our banner. Now everyone in this room will remember that after this event, I'm pretty sure. And thank you, Carlos, for all these insightful comments and your reflection. So now we really had a very, very rich discussion, and I'm so grateful for our panelists for bringing, a lot more information as compared to we were originally envisioned. So now I'm turning to the audience. Now it's your opportunity to ask secretariat and also the panelists if you have any questions or just something that you would like to share. What has happened in your country. You have heard from our panelists just now, so it will be interesting to hear from you now. So I see a question at the back. Please introduce yourself. Yeah.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Clifford Nkantama. I am from Malawi. I coordinate a CBIT project. First of all, let me thank the panel for such a very, very rich discussion, as the moderator just alluded to. Quite encouraging, especially that we've shared the experiences going through the writing of BTRs, which is, I think, the focus of most of our countries. But I wanted to really find out from the dear friends, the dear panelists, what kind of experience, if they had, where you are talking about data collection, and maybe there are certain institutions that maybe would hide data, for example, and they are not really willing to communicate, to cooperate, to give out data in terms of, during the collection of data collection. I don't know if you had those kind of challenges, and then if you had, what did you do to surmount those challenges? Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you for this very relevant question. Maybe we can collect another question, and then I will turn to the panel. Any other questions? Okay, then maybe now, while you are thinking about the questions, I'll turn to my panel. Jenny, from you.
Well, I can mention one of our experience was with the private sector, more than public sector, related with gather information. At the beginning of the first BOR, we had experienced many challenges to receive information, especially for cement sector, because there are a few enterprises in the country. We tried, in that time, we tried to explain that the data was only for information purposes and not for to put in a standard or something, but they were not willing to cooperate at the beginning. After the first BOR and after the ICA process, and when we started with the second BOR, they were more open and they understand that the data was well used and it was better for the country to have this information, better for transparency, for better policies and stuff. So we started to communicate better as well, that the information that we were presented in the report was for making good decisions.
Thank you, Jenny, for that. Iveta.
Yes. We had that same experience that you had some companies or even government institutions who were not willing to share data. But what we had is that we had some awareness sessions before starting with the last report. And one of the things also that flows out of that is that, for instance, with our state oil company, we had to sign a non-disclosure agreement. So that's our ways to receive data from companies, but also other organizations that say that the data they do not want to share it out of how do you call it? They don't want that there will be in a I cannot come up with a word, but they are afraid that there will be, like, say, challenges with other companies that can use that data against their company activities, to put it like that. Another thing that we did is that we also placed or included a provision within the Environmental Framework Act that was in development back then, and that provision should ensure that the government can ask or can require or request data from any institution or organization or even from the private sector. So that are two examples that I can share with you.
Thank you for sharing your example. Yanka?
Yes, in my country, what was the important step was that we created statistical system. And we have a statistical coordination committee. And we have agreement with the statistical office of Slovakia. And all the data or input data, activity data from all ministries or agencies are flowing to the statistical office, and then according to our agreement we have access to the confidential data, for example, so not only for the publicly available data but also the data behind it, but it's based on the agreement, so it needs to be on the contract basis. So this pretty much helped to improve our data collection system in past.
Thank you, Yanka, for sharing the experience with Slovakia. Now, Carlos, any experience from Andorra? Similar challenges from your side?
Yes, of course. I think it's not only a question or an issue of collecting data. I think it's a global framework. So I think we have 5 items that could help everyone to better collect the data. So first of all, internalize the modalities, procedures and guidelines for the preparation of the BTRs and the guidelines for their implementation. Also to take the most of the ETF tools by attending trainings and workshops that could help us to better define a framework to put in place this first cycle of BTRs. To have sufficient institutional arrangements to maintain a permanent work team that ensure continuity in communication commitments under UNFCCC and the Paris Agreement, as well as the parallel development of new long-term strategies. The fourth, unify and integrate indicators of existing national strategies, plans, and obviously the NDCs in order to streamline reporting obligations and avoid duplication of efforts, as well as reducing reporting burdens in light of the capacity constraints that many countries might face. And finally, the internalization of the communication tasks, as I've said, as per our own experiences, to internalize the report elaboration, to build ownership among all involved public and private stakeholders, and to constitute the BTR as an essential national tool for policy making. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So actually, you heard from the panelists. about two things, right? You asked the two questions, data collection, so how to ensure that you have the data that you want to collect, and then also how to address this hiding of data. And then you can hear from our panelists, actually this reporting and review, this transparency process actually over time helps, because then it really is also a process. It's also a process to help with domestic coordination, working with each other, establishing a system over time with data compilation, data collection. So that's the added value. That's the benefits of the transparency system. Actually, on one side is accountability. On the other side, there are so many benefits at the national level. So very, very interesting discussion. Any additional? You have a question?
Hi, I'm Camila from Chile. I work with Jenny. But I was just wondering, within the expert review process, how will work with the flexibilities that country report, and also you have to report the flexibility, and also how you will improve it? So you are already like acknowledging what are your needs. So how is the review going to consider those?
Yeah,
Or
good.
What do you expect? What will happen?
Good question. For this question, I would ask Ruta from the secretariat to share our experience, because secretariat has the mandate to coordinate the review process. And so perhaps Ruta can share her insights, experience. After that, we can also hear from our panel, because some of our panelists, I mean, most of them, have experience with reviews, so they can also share. But first, let me turn to Ruta. Okay, so there's another question. So we can collect this question, and then we can ask our panel to address.
My name is Arif from Malaysia. First question is, I'm relatively new here, like 2 years, and just getting the IPPU proficiency exam. And one of the funny things is that we are getting terrified with, like compliance mechanism, so on and so forth. It's kind of a mental block for us. So just to have your opinions, all of you here, like, is it, so rocket science, so complicated, BTR, or it is just, a mind game, for example? And second is specific maybe to Andorra. And this is maybe a bit micro. In the context of project management, is it like a 6-month focus project, or is it like 2 years down the road after the ICA, or right after the BUR that you start working to prepare the BTR, for example? Just to know how the feeling of your preparation works earlier. Thank you.
Thank you for the question. Any additional question? We can take all the questions together. We have another question at the back.
Hi, thank you. My name is German from Suriname. I have a question for the lady at the end of the table. Yes. So you stated that you guys have like a statistical entity in your country. I was wondering how you got every company on board to submit data to that entity. Because from what I understand, it would be an investment for some of those companies to gather data.
Thank you for the question. So then we can take this all together. So perhaps we can ask Andorra, because there are two specific questions, one for Andorra, one for Janka from Slovakia. So maybe you can address this, and then we turn to the panel and the secretariat for the cross-cutting one. So Carlos.
Yes, thank you, Chair. So I think we cannot consider the process to submit a BTR as a project. We have to consider that we have to submit every 2 years BTRs Previously, we submitted the BORs, and from that point of view, I think it's a continuous work to improve from the last one to the next one. Report the inventory, the national the national institutional arrangements, all the processes that help us to complete this purpose. So I think, especially to the PTRs, we have to adopt some of the common tabular formats. So it's not a work that I think we can consider as a project, but it's a very hard and continuous work that we need to sure with consolidated team that could work in these items.
Thank you, Carlos, for sharing your experience. Now I move to Yanka.
Yes, thank you for the question. Maybe we are in an easier position because we have a law, special law on statistics, where any enterprise about some size or some scale is obliged to report data to the Statistical Authority of Slovakia. But if you are not in such position, I can advise you to use international statistics, for example, data. For example, there is a FAO statistics on agricultural data, there is a International Energy Agency statistics, and there are many other useful, also industrial international agencies where you can find some data about your country or your region. And and there are also many other useful international bodies, for example, also on the UN level. There is a statistic on climate data, and yes, so you can, UN departments, you can also check for some data on climate, for example, or energy.
Thank you, Yanka. So now on these two cross-cutting questions, I turn the floor to the panel secretariat. Basically, one question on the flexibility, how to handle flexibility during the review process. Second question is the BTR preparation. It's a challenging process with a lot of information that needs to be provided. So a quick reflection from everyone. So perhaps we start from Ruta.
Yes, thank you very much. Very relevant question about flexibilities. And as we recall in the MPG, it's clearly stated that the reviewers reviewers will do and what they will not do. So they will not question the national determined flexibility choice by the party. That would not be a scope of the review. On the question on how in practice the capacity building needs would be identified and how in practice the improvements will be noted. That is under the discussion and that is under the scope of the lead reviewers' discussions that would be next year and how that would come in practice. We do know what are the requirements in the MPG, but how to operationalize that is another question, and that is where the Secretariat is putting efforts on and where we are involving currently reviewers to help out and to frame the process so that it is according to the guidelines and also efficient and effective. So we would know more by the middle of next year. Then we do have some drafts and first versions of the review practice that would be applied to all parties, and that would be prepared by the lead reviewers.
Thank you, Ruta, for providing this information. So on the other cross-cutting question, well, actually the panelists, you can address both questions as a reviewer and as a representative from the party. So over to you, Jenny.
Okay, thank you. Regarding flexibility, maybe I can ask from the view of a country, more than a reviewer. I'm a reviewer, but I would like, as a country, to receive information, to receive recommendation in how to improve and how to advance in the flexibility. So maybe, and we have done this in the past, we ask to the reviewers as a special request from the country to the reviewer if they have ideas or examples to share with us during the review week, these kind of examples. Regarding the BTR, yeah, it's not rocket science, so no, don't be afraid about that. I think even for small countries, there is a lot of information of international data that you can use to fill the gaps sometimes in your country. So you should be very aware that you can, even with a small amount of data, you can still do a report. The important thing is to start doing report, because if you are not start soon enough, the process itself is going to collapse. I mean, what happened with the BOR, many countries were spend too much time to collect data to start to report, and that time was it's not a waste of time, but they could use that time in understand well all the implications of a report process.
Thank you, Jenny. Iveta.
Not a lot of experience, but what I have hold from the previous review process is that indeed what Jenny is saying, that we wanted to make the report perfect. And when it was submitted, I was a little bit not only confused, but I also wasn't sure how the team of technical expert would react, what their response would be during the review on some of the things that we had included in the report and some of the things that we could not have included, even though we wanted to do that. So during the review, it was quite clear to us that you don't need to put everything in the report. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just produce or include the main information, especially with regard to the sectors where you have, like say, the emission is more on the higher side. Try to shed more light on those sectors. And in the sector in which you cannot provide all the data, you can just mention that you will provide that data or you will update that in the next report. So in that case, you don't stay too long to submit a report because you don't have enough data. That is something that I learned out of this process. But also while we were in the review process with the team of technical experts, they also formulated the capacity building needs together with us. And that was very helpful. So that's something that that's something that I experienced as quite good.
Very valuable experience that you shared with us. Yanka and Yanka.
Yes,
please.
what I expect from the flexibilities reviewing or the process of flexibilities, as I said, and also Jenny said it before, that this is a learning by doing process, and I think is a capacity building from both sides, from the side of reviewer and from the side of the party. So maybe a party can share a knowledge to the reviewer and reviewer share the knowledge to the party, how to fill the gap, how to fill to improve in time, and cancel the flexibilities or or lowering flexibilities or gaps in the reporting. So I would be not afraid about the process, and I think it's improvement in time, and it was said several times, and the first report, BTR, will be not perfect, but we can improve.
Thank you. Thank you for that encouragement. Carlos.
Yes, thank you. So I think the elaboration of the BTRs has been difficult for us. I think it will be difficult too to the team that will have to review all these reports, but I think the soon we will begin into the DTF cycle, the better it will be for all of us, because we are all learning in this new context, in this new cycle. So as I have said, being transparent allow us to be exigent. So if we are in a vulnerable country and we don't have big emissions, we have to be transparent to let us be exigent with the countries that can have a great impact to the reduction of the emissions. So another time, and for the second time, together for transparency. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, we love you. So very unfortunate that we are running out of time, but I hope you are the same as I am. I feel I really enjoy this session. There's so much information being shared, and the key messages are really loud and clear. So don't be afraid of your very first BTR. Everyone starts from somewhere. Many countries actually already had experience from the existing transparency process, so let's build on that and work together. So, together for transparency. With that, have a very nice evening, everyone, and thank you very much. Carlos, oh, sorry, it's already. So we don't have this. Carlos, you do not hear us, no. But you cannot see us, so we need to somehow. Thank you very much. Yeah, I don't know how this system works, but we can say that.
Saying something, but
Yeah,
we cannot hear you.
But thank you very much.
it's really nice, you know. Yeah. So let's look forward to the ETF.
No, this is together for transparency.
Together for transparency.
I think that's very like
do something
How did you enjoy the UR5?
it was good. It was good.
You were there in person.
Yes. Unfortunately, we would have a session talking about the environment that we must be, but with all the problems and stuff, we wouldn't have that meeting. So yeah, it was. But anyway, the meeting was great.